Live back in action, attacking your speakers from the field to the bleachers. This is the Power 32 podcast, and we are ready to kick your ass with the smart ass over here, Mr. Kenny Culp. What's up, my brother? And Mr. Primetime 313.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
In the house, baby, ready to go. It's an NFL Thursday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. You can count on the Power 32 podcast to be here for you. My name is Jason Fearman, also known as a sports prophet, and I've been doing very profit type of things lately on Hard Rock Bet. I've been making some money lately at these NBA games and even NHL. I don't know how, but it's like the less you know, the more you know sometimes. So it's kind of like fool's luck, but it's working out. So how are my boys doing?
Yeah, we're doing, man. It's a little starting to warm up a little bit here in the D, and I'm ready to do this schedule thing. I got a beef with the NFL that I'm gonna visit Roger Goodell's office pretty soon.
Yeah, the Giants, they have the hardest schedule, and the 49ers statistically have the easiest schedule, Kenny. So maybe we're in for a little bit of luck, as we say. It's an Under the Helmet podcast. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Under the Helmet? What up, though? What up, though?
Yeah, man. So we're going to get into it. You know, we don't waste time on the show. We get right into it. And traditionally, we start with our trivia. And I got a little trivia for you guys. I did 3 questions today because it went from like an easy to medium to hard level. So let me start out with this one.
He's trying to make us look really bad, Katie. So if we go 0 for 3, man, we're losing a lot of credibility here.
I'm not going to get many right.
I feel good about this first one. I do. Who was the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards?
Ever.
First quarterback ever to throw for 4,000 yards.
That's got to be Dan Marino.
That's who I'm going with as well.
Going Marino. It's a little bit before that. Believe it or not, it was Joe Namath.
I was going to say Unitas, but
Really?
I thought that'd be too long ago.
Namath was the first one, 4,000 yards. And, yeah, that was like a whole big thing back then. It's like, oh, my God, all the commercials and the freaking mink coats and all that bullshit that went along with Joe Namath.
But there wasn't anybody that did it between like him and whoever did it second, like a huge gap in years, weren't there? I don't think there was like consistent 4,000-yard passers back then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It might have been Fran Tarkenton to do it next. I'm not 100% sure because he threw for a lot of yards.
He ran the ball a lot too.
Yeah, he did. He was in my top 10 of all time, if everybody remembers.
That's right.
That.
I remember that. Yeah, one of the first mobile quarterbacks out there. Yes, he was. All right, well, I got one more for you then. All right. Other than Steve Young, who's the only other left-handed quarterback to start a Super Bowl?
Well, it's not Michael Vick.
No. I'm going to say, I don't know if he actually started a Super Bowl or not, but was Kenny Stabler left-handed?
Kenny Stabler was left-handed, so that is a guess right there for Mr. Primetime. Kenny?
I only know Young and Vick to be able to throw lefty. That's it.
Mark Brunell did, but he didn't make the Super Bowl.
No, he didn't.
So you want to ride the coattails of Primetime on this one?
Well, I don't know it, but I'll say what he said.
He did a damn good job at it because Kenny Stabler's the answer.
All right. We're 500 right now.
Very nice.
Well done. Ended on a good note right there.
Right.
Well, I heard you got one, Prime.
I do actually, and this is kind of an unusual one. It caught me off guard as I was doing a little bit of research this past week. So, think back to 1936, and for our viewers and listeners out there, no, I was not around back then. Damn it. So, who was the very first player ever drafted in the NFL? And there's a side note to that.
I know who it is. I actually know the answer.
Oh wow, Kenny.
Yeah,
I have no clue.
This is my crazy NFL in-depth knowledge coming through, and his name was Jay Berwanger.
Oh wow! Wow!
Nice. Well,
absolutely. Absolutely nailed. He was the first overall pick in the out of the University of Chicago. He was a tailback. Got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. Bonus points, Jason, if you can guess what other accolade. There's a side note to him, and actually 2. If you can get one of them, there's bonus points.
Well, I think one is that he played quarterback, right?
He did, but that's not what I'm looking for. But yeah, I actually could have added that as a third. He actually won the Heisman as well, so he was the first player.
Wow.
And the biggest caveat of all is that he never played it down in the NFL.
Sounds rigged to me.
That's right. Yeah, I should have got that one. That's right.
He never
How
played it
crazy
down
is
in the NFL. He saw that football wasn't going to be making, he wasn't going to be making too much money, and he went on to do other things. But yeah,
Went to
wow,
golf.
Jay Burr went to wow. That's props to Jason.
Well,
Yeah,
I have
man,
an easy
thank
one,
you.
Jason. I have an easy one for you. What Hofstra quarterback was drafted by the 49ers at the behest of Bill Walsh?
Oh my God. I don't know why.
Oh,
It's
wow.
not Gino Toretta. I don't know why his name. keeps
You
popping.
can't remember his name because nobody cares about that
When
guy.
when you say it, I'm going to kick myself because I know who it is.
You know who it is? Gino Carmazzi.
Carmazzi.
What the hell?
See, I said
listen.
Gino. I said Gino Toretta. I know Gino something. Gino Carmazzi. Yeah,
Gino
right.
Toretta is from the Fast
Miami.
and Furious movie.
Miami, yeah.
Yeah.
Played with Minnesota.
Gino Toretta from the Fast and Furious. This guy's Dominic Torettoing us over here. I love it.
Toretta threw some of the most fantastic interceptions you'd want to see in your life. They're the highlight reel worthy if you want to go on YouTube and search.
Hey, I
Gino
love the Hall of
Toretta
Shame.
interceptions.
I
Oh
love
my
the Hall of
God.
Shame.
Oh, it's great. I absolutely love it. That is awesome. So, big news with the NFL draft lottery coming up. A lot of people have been asking, should the NFL do that? And I'm like,
No.
Kenny's like, no, immediately.
No.
Why not? You don't.
I
You
don't
like
like
that?
it. I don't like it in basketball. It makes no friggin' sense to me. You could be the worst team in basketball and they throw a chip in there for you, a ball or whatever the hell they do. That's ridiculous. So you wind up being the worst team in the league. You need all the help in the world and you don't even get the top pick. That's pure ass.
Well, I think the
ass.
whole idea behind it is to stop the tanking of teams toward the end of the season. I think that would be the idea, and I get it. I think it would make it more exciting. It would definitely be TV ratings. Like
I believe that they tank games in basketball, but no friggin' way that a head coach is tanking games in the NFL when his job is always on the line like that. There's no way.
I agree with that, but when I kind of posed the question to some other people too about that, the biggest thing that came to mind, a lot of people mentioned TV ratings, but then a lot of people started to work, I think one of the things that would be kind of beneficial is that it kind of changes like your whole front office strategy, your whole coaching strategy, to where now you're into more player development, because even if you are a team that sucks, you're not necessarily going to get that number one pick. So you can't lean on that when you're already like, 4-10, and you're probably only going to win another game or so the rest of the season. And then you start changing your strategy. I think it leans more towards player development. I think especially if it's like a weighted lottery, like the NBA is, you don't just have like a worst to first kind of draft lottery. You kind of weigh it with the ping pong ball type thing. But there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons, and we can kind of go probably, that's a whole show in itself, as the pros and cons of the draft lottery. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I'd like to see it maybe some experiment like in the UFL or something like that, but it would be really interesting to see. I don't think the owners would go for it, but most importantly, I think players union would go for it, because now you're talking about differences in the way you restructure rookie quarterback contracts and all that type of thing. So
it makes it a lot
that's just my
harder for a
4 cents.
team to prepare for the draft, though. That's one thing. But here's when I would be up for it. If we're going to do that, and that's on the table, then let's also do it where the best teams with the best records go to the playoffs, and that's it. I don't care what division you're in. If you want to do that lottery thing, then the best teams with the best records go to the playoffs. I don't care if they're all in the same division. I don't care if they're all in 2 divisions.
You're trying to say that they would be out of the running of the lottery
No, I'm saying that I'm willing to do that lottery draft if we also make the winners, with the people with the best records, go to the playoffs, not just the best person in your division. Like, I don't care if you win the South and you have 7 wins because the rest of the people in the South are so bad, something like that. I want all the best teams, like they do in hockey, just like I believe they do that in hockey, don't they?
Yeah, I think in hockey they just take the top 16 teams and just let it roll.
If you're gonna do that and ruin the draft, at least for me, then you better put the best teams in the playoffs, so that when I'm watching it, I don't have to watch some scrappy wild card team play in there when they don't even belong in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's another proposal, though, actually, that the NFL may come forth with, despite whether or not you win your division, not, getting a home field advantage. But division is something, you see, that's the thing. I liked it more when there was 3 divisions, because it was more important winning your division, I guess. So with 4 divisions,
that would be cool.
Easier.
That would be cool with the West, the South, and the Central. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I think too, when you you start looking at like lotteries and things like that. I do see that there, a lot of people perceive that the NFL or the NBA lottery is rigged, especially after Dallas got the number 1 pick after trading Luka. Go figure that. But I don't know, man. It's an interesting concept. I do think that I agree 100% with the teams with the best records should be in the playoffs. Doesn't matter what division you're in, or doesn't matter. None of that should matter. It should be the best teams with the best records, and and maybe even do some reseeding after the first round of the playoffs if you want to kind of take that a step further.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Derek Carr retiring a little, after the draft when he already knew what was going on? I mean, is this like bad on him, or do you think that the Saints kind of knew already? Kenny, I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation because now they're a little bit stuck. We have a lot of inexperience on that team. When you talk about Spencer Rattler and now their rookie quarterback, Tyler Shuck, who seems to be the front runner to actually win this job.
Okay, real quick, and I'll get through this real fast. I kind of thought that they were doing that shit on purpose. Like, now they're going to use that excuse as why they're going to be horrible this year and get more early picks. Like, what I'm saying? I think like that's their way of tanking low key without actually saying they're tanking up, up front. Like, I feel like that's like, how do you not know that he's not going to play the whole year 2 weeks after the draft? Like, that's ridiculous, right?
It
doesn't sound right to me. So.
So they don't want the lottery then. They just want the number 1 pick overall.
and I think, there's some symmetry to that too, because, you guys both know Archie Manning played with the Saints. So if circle to where Arch Manning ended up playing with the Saints, I think, just from the PR alone, the jersey sales, you might see like record jersey sales
for the original and the new.
For both,
Yeah,
I think you'd see there'd probably be like one of the top 10, 2 of the top 10 selling jerseys in history. The Saints have made a lot of bad decisions. We kind of chronicled it on this show numerous times, but I think Derek Carr, like Jason, I agree with you. I think Carr and the Saints knew. I think that's one of the reasons why they drafted a quarterback. Had they known probably sooner than that, they probably would have drafted a different quarterback, or maybe tanked even more to get get a better pick. But the Saints, either way it goes, the Saints aren't going to be anything worthy for the foreseeable future. So to me, it really doesn't matter who their quarterback is.
Yeah, listen, I got to tell you, man, Kellen Moore's got his work cut out for him, his first year head coach of that New Orleans Saints team, man. That should be very, very interesting, but let's see what he can do. Still got a couple of weapons over there. It's just a matter of is the quarterback going to be good enough to actually get the ball to them. So we'll see. We know of a running back that's good enough who did earn a lot of money in his latter years right now. Derrick Henry with the Ravens getting a 2-year extension for $30 million, $25 guaranteed. I don't really have a problem with it because Derrick Henry has not shown any signs of slowing down, Kenny, and he's a vital part of that offense. If they're going to win the Super Bowl, as Saquon did for Philly, Derrick Henry is going to have to do for Baltimore.
Yeah, he just has to stay healthy now. That's it. If he can stay healthy, then the Ravens are running it back now for the 10th, 11th year, and hopefully they can make it happen.
Yeah, listen, availability, the best availability, right, Prime? And he's been available.
Yeah, and I think, I think, guys, the thing that surprises me the most about his durability is that his running style. He's not a Jahmyr Gibbs or Barry Sanders, or he's not a slash and dash kind of. He's a up the gut, stiff arm. He's a big dude, so we know that. But I think the Ravens did the right thing. I think right now the Ravens are kind of going all in, and they know that their window, if nothing, maybe not their window for the Super Bowl, but they're tired of getting criticized by fans that they can't win the big one. And I think they're doing everything that they can right now, whether it be signing Derrick Henry or how they did their draft. I think the Ravens are really rolling the dice that this year could possibly be the year. But and then we talked about John Harbaugh last week. Is when does his seat start to get a little warm? And if not this year, maybe next year. But the Ravens got to do something, man. They got to do something. They got to. Yeah. It's a put up or shut up year for the Baltimore Ravens.
I agree. This is a huge year for them. A year where people legitimately finally think Kansas City is going to take a step back. Buffalo, yeah, they do scare you, but defensively, you're not sure. You got Lamar Jackson, who could have been a 3-time MVP, just came that short last year, winning his third. So, yeah, it's really, Baltimore big time this year. And they got a lot of big games, man. Baltimore, I think they have 5 primetime games. The leaders are the Chiefs with 7, the Cowboys, Eagles, and Commanders. Go figure, all NFC East teams. They all have 6 primetime games. So they're counting on that division to be pretty big, which includes the season opener. We'll get to that in a minute. But this out of ESPN. Per ESPN, as part of its 2025 international games slate unveiled on Tuesday, the NFL announced that the Vikings will play the Pittsburgh Steelers on September 28th in Dublin, marking the league's first regular season game in Ireland. But then the Vikings will then travel to England right after, where they will face the Cleveland Browns in London. That's a little ridiculous, guys. I mean, it would be one thing if they were staying in London 2 weeks in a row like the Jaguars usually do, but to go from Dublin to London, I mean, I'm not saying it's a 5,000-mile trip or whatever, but it's a little bit unfair to the Vikings, no?
Yeah, I think the Vikings. You look at the NFC North as a whole. I think they got somebody pissed somebody off in the NFL front office as far as the schedule makers, because they just got ripped. And I was going back and forth with a guy on TikTok yesterday about it, but I don't think it's fair to have back-to-back. I think if you're going to have the international thing, I'm all for it, but I think you should have every team should only have to play overseas one time. Especially if you're going to count those as, I'm not sure if those are going to both count as home games for the Vikings, but if because I know they usually count as home games for the Jags when they do it. But yeah, Minnesota it's not like you say, Jason, the distance between Dublin and London or whatever is not great, but it's just the fact that you're basically going to be overseas for 3 weeks. It's just the physical and mental adjustments that they're going to have to make, and then when they come back, and the NFC North is going to be, it's loaded this year, man. So Minnesota got robbed.
And these players, Kenny, they're used to routine. Routine is huge, and to be overseas with a whole new routine in hotels that you never heard of before, and people speaking, and you can barely understand the language. I mean, for God's sake, it's going to be a nightmare for these guys.
No, I don't feel sorry for them at all. I feel like it's a great vacation for them. Not only that, the Vikings. I mean, who's going to want to watch the Vikings more than people in the North? You got Irish people, you got Scottish people, you got UK, Scandinavia is a hub.
Yeah, you got some of that going on. Yeah.
And tell you what, it's only a 13-hour flight from New York. So if you can get to New York and
13 hours, no problem. Just take a little nap and you'll be there. Yeah,
you'll fall asleep. You wake up there, and let me tell you, it's beautiful. And the Jaguars have done it before, and I don't see a big deal with it.
Yeah, but they suck. Nobody cares about the Jaguars.
Yeah, that's why they go there all the time. They're going to end up being the London Jaguars. That's what's
all teams better get used to it, because this NFL is the 3rd most popular sport in the world, and that shit ain't acceptable for some people. You got soccer, and you got cricket, and then you have football. And football knows what kind of money you can make when you go global. They don't care how much sleep players get. They care about money.
Man, it just goes to show you how small America actually is. Damn.
It really is.
What's up, Tyler McGurk joining us? What's up, Memphis Showboat? What's up, guys? What's going on, fellas? Great to have you guys
bringing the real talk over there, talking smack about the Niners, which we're going to talk about in a bit. But
we're used to that. When you're a dynasty, that's what happens, man.
We'll talk about the Niners.
What?
We're going to do Niners over under.
A dynasty. 5 Super Bowls. 5 Super Bowls.
How long ago? When was your last one? And
they never disappear. They stay there forever.
You're only as good as your last one, I guess. And
never fade away.
Yeah, that's okay.
Tyler hates the European games. Bring back NFL to Europe. They want to play in Europe. All right, Tyler. I hear what you're saying, brother.
Or expand the league. Expand the league where you get a couple more teams and they're just the sacrificial lambs every year.
Beautiful jets that get there a lot faster than 13 hours. If you got the money to take one of those good jets, those U.S. Virgin Airline jets, those things that fly, those super jets, not a problem.
What happened to the Concorde? Remember when the Concorde would get you from New York to London in 22 minutes?
Yeah. I remember when I was really young and I would see a Concorde in the sky. I'm like, that's the fastest plane ever, guys. Check it out, man. Yeah, it was some big freaking deal. All right, it's a Concorde. Yeah, they got things that can go 5,000 miles an hour now.
That's right.
Goodness God.
I don't know.
I want to do these over-unders.
I sleep like a baby on an airplane, so I sleep like a baby on an airplane.
I hate airplanes. Screw that shit, man. We're way too high in the sky. I know why they have to fly that high in the sky. It's because it's easier for the plane to travel at that altitude.
Yeah, above the weather.
Damn. You're 35,000 feet up. For God's sakes, can't you just go like 1,000? So
Right.
maybe
At,
you
least,
fly.
at least if I'm in a car accident, I got a shot. You know,
Yeah,
staying
man.
alive. If
Plane
I'm in a
goes
plane
down, you're
accident. It's like,
screwed. Oh,
you know,
jeez.
what do you say?
Oh, that's
Put your legs between your, or put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. Because
Goodbye. See you
it's a
later.
wrap.
You're out of here. You
It's
got
a
no
wrap.
chance. It's funny how they got seatbelts on airplanes. Like that's gonna fucking save you.
It is. It's gonna save you from
Your seat
oxygen
can be
loss.
used as a flotation device.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
Floating
more
on
like
rocks.
an injection system.
Exactly. What
Safest
the
way
hell?
to safest way to travel.
Yeah, so they
Yeah,
say.
Safest
statistically
way to
speaking.
travel.
I know. Oh,
Unless
God.
you're flying into Newark Airport. that is.
Well, yeah. That was good, Kenny. That's funny. I didn't know about that. Well, knock on wood, God forbid. Hopefully, no plane crashes for the rest of the time. Like when the Cowboys go to Philadelphia on opening night, Thursday night. I'm not sure how much I like the fact that it's the Cowboys, the first of defending champions, but they did get better. They got George Pickens. People are expecting a little bit more from Dallas this year, Kenny. I would have picked a different team, maybe like Baltimore or maybe Washington. People are loving on Washington. Washington's got a whole bunch of primetime games, but I don't really love the Cowboys-Eagles week one, and I don't love divisional games week one. I think that you need to wait a few weeks until you get to the divisional games because those are the most important, right?
That's America's team you're talking about, and that's
No,
who-
it's not anymore.
That's who people want to
Detroit
see.
Lions.
They're still one of the highest rated, watched, money-making
Detroit
teams
Lions.
in the entire league is the Dallas Cowboys. Whether they come in last place or first, and that's what people want to see. That's what owners care about.
Well, speaking
Money.
of train wrecks and plane crashes, you know, that's pretty much been the Dallas Cowboys for the last, 25, 30
They've
years.
been a hot mess,
Um,
man.
I'm
Dallas-
with you, Jason, 100%. I was talking to one of my guys at work. This was probably 2-3 weeks ago. That divisional games you shouldn't probably play any divisional like week 3, just to kind of give everybody a chance to get their feet wet. When you start,
Yeah.
you start right off the bat with a division, especially against a team that you're probably going to be competing for the division. You know, it was one thing, like say they play the Giants, but to come out, Cowboys, Eagles right off the bat, I think it's a disadvantage to the Cowboys. I think going into the season, I think the Eagles are probably still the most cohesive team in the league. Dallas has a bunch of new pieces that they're trying to fit, so
Right.
that's going to be an issue. My biggest thing, Jay and Kenny, I don't like that they open the season on Thursday. I don't know how people feel about that. I don't like that. I think if you're going to open a season like that, especially when you got two good teams like that, do it on Monday night. Do it on Monday night, and then have a mid game or such on Thursday, and then start your Sunday schedule. I'm not a big fan of opening on Thursday.
But the NFL makes a lot more money from Amazon playing their game on there than they do on public.
Exactly. And
Free
pretty soon
TV.
you're not going to be able to watch free football anyway,
Hell
because
no.
I don't know if you guys heard ESPN they're trashing their non-pay service, and pretty soon you got to pay $30 a month to watch football or watch. It's going to suck, not necessarily for the pros, but for big college football fans like myself. It's going to suck, man. It
So
really,
sad.
it's going to
Made a
cost you
video about
$1,500 a year to watch football.
I made
Right.
a video about that like 4 months ago.
I already got the red zone and what do you call it, where you get all the games and everything, so I can watch my 49ers. Give me a break with this shit, too much. What do we got from under the helmet? My question is why the Chiefs-Eagles Week 2 matchup is not on prime time. That is a great question. We're going to get into
That
Week 2.
is.
We got a few more questions. We got a few more Week 1s, but, that should be a primetime game.
That's going to be a matter of commercial money, if you really want to know what it's about.
Yeah, I don't know. That'll probably be one of the, like a 420 game where, Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt are going to be doing it. But speaking of divisional matchups in Week 1, another one, Vikings and Bears. That's Monday Night Football. I mean, that's maybe a little more interesting because it's Monday Night Football. But then again, you're starting off a division game. So it could be a good one. And it's J.J. McCarthy versus, Ben Johnson in his first stint as a head coach. It should be very interesting to see what he does to that team.
Yeah, and Caleb versus
Right.
JJ.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, man, if there's another team that I'm looking forward, I hate to say it, and I talked to Simon, who's one of our regulars on the show. I told him, man, I say I'm excited. I can't believe I'm saying to see the Bears this year. I'm telling you, I got a couple of their games actually, as far as hot games week to week. Lions and Bears week 2. I'm really, really anxious to see how the Bears progress this season. They're probably my third team to watch other than my Lions and Giants.
Yeah, I feel they'll get better as time goes on during the year. It's a matter of can they rack up enough wins in the early part of the year to be contenders in the later part of the year. Ben Johnson, let's see how good of a head coach he is. Very interesting. The Brazil game, Kenny, is the Chiefs and Chargers. Again, another division game in week 1, but that'll be an early test for both teams.
Yeah, that game's fine. I don't mind if we look at the Niners schedule, which we're going to get to at some point, we're playing all our division games pretty much in the first half of the season. So this is I don't know if you guys know, AI is the one who makes the schedule first. And then there's like 7 or 8 NFL executives that they tweak it after the AI creates the schedule. That's how the schedule's made.
Right. Yeah, it'd be impossible for people to sit there and actually, write down in pen and paper. So, all right, let's do this for, freaking 32 teams.
So the Chargers are in San Diego, and that's the closest you can get to South America, and I think that's really what it's about. And they want to see the best team, so it's an in-division, and Chargers are supposed to make a run for it this year. I still think the Chiefs are going to win that division very easily. I don't think the Chiefs are out of it at all yet by any means.
No. You can't ever count them out. While Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid is still breathing and on the football field, you can never.
And the DC, Spagnuolo.
I do like Chargers this year, though. In the second year under Harbaugh, I think big things can happen. His brother, John Harbaugh, for the Ravens, is going to Buffalo prime time in week 2. That's way too early again to have a game of that magnitude. Just like Philly and Kansas City. That's too early.
Yeah, I think what the NFL is, I think they're front loading. And then the middle of the season will be exactly that. It'll be kind of mid, and then they're going to ramp up the last few weeks of the season, because as we go through this, you'll see that there's some pretty good games. But I'm not the whole sending teams like this, having matchups like this that early in the season. It doesn't give the good teams time enough to warm up and really. Because you see some bad football in the first couple weeks.
That's because That's because no starters play in the preseason anymore.
Exactly. Which that kind of I got mixed feelings about that too. But I'm anxious to see how Baltimore treats that game. Are they going to treat it just as a regular season game, or are they going to treat it? I think Baltimore is going to go into this season and treat every game like it's a must. I think Baltimore, because we talked about before, they got a lot to prove, and I think every game this year, Baltimore is going to be on a mission. I don't know if they win that game. We'll have to, we'll kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, to have a matchup like that, a big matchup. I mean, it doesn't really get much bigger than that, does it? Unless it was like
can I tell you guys what I think about why they're doing this? Yeah. Because when football comes back, people have been waiting months, 6-7 months for football to come back, because some of their teams were out in November, right? So they stopped watching football. That's number one. Some teams are out of it by the end of October, beginning of November. Their team is already out. They know they're not going to the playoffs. Those people don't watch football anymore. They know their team is gone. Our team sucks. I'm not watching this. I'm going to go out. So what else happens in the middle of the season? You got Halloween. There's a lot of parents, a lot of fathers watch football, a lot of mothers watch football. Single people probably watch football. I'm thinking not as much as families do. And so you have Halloween, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas. All that shit comes at the same time in a ball. And probably I'm guessing that the ratings aren't as good during that time. And so they're loading up on these great games in the beginning of the season. I think they're trying to hook people. They're trying to hook new viewers the best they can, besides using gambling apps. And I think that's what it's really about. I think a lot of people like Christmas. People got to shop. People got kids. People got shit to do. People got to run errands. People got to. They can't watch football all the time. Especially the only day people made me don't work anymore, because people work 2 jobs 7 days a week now. So,
see, now I agree. I agree with your concept. The only thing I would say to contradict that is that the NFL keeps putting these games on major holidays, and they keep making money off of it.
Yeah, they're
making money. They wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I don't agree with so much the fans stop watching football, because you got to remember, I'm a Giants fan and a Lions fan, and the Lions haven't been shit up until the last couple of years.
But you've been watching football since you were 7 years old. There are kids who grow up today. They don't give a shit about.
But there's a lot of
that's
guys
their father's fault. That's
young
their dad's
young
fault.
People don't watch football.
If you got a 7-year-old kid and they don't watch football, it's your dad's fault. He needs his butt kicked.
Yeah.
You need to be watching. You need to be watching football. My son and daughter both watch football, and my daughter's learned it slowly but surely over the years, and there's no excuse to not watch. What else are you watching on Sunday?
Oh, there's other sports. There's other sports.
With
Watch
football,
NASCAR?
we know that football rules. They get the ratings. They have everything, man. I mean, it really is amazing, and they put together these matchups that we love. Like another one, Jets versus Steelers, which means Justin Fields versus all team, and maybe Aaron Rodgers versus all team if he does join Pittsburgh. So maybe they know something we don't, Kenny, with your conspiracy.
I don't know, man. I would send Aaron Rodgers. I would have him come down to the facility in Pittsburgh. I'd buy him dinner and I'd tell him that we don't want him.
Right.
That's what I would do. And I would
switch with Aaron Rodgers.
That's what the Jets did to him. That's what Aaron Glenn did to him. They flew him in there. They're like, yeah, we don't want you anymore. He was gone in 15 minutes. Like, all right.
The owners should stick together like that and make them put a message out. Like, dude, we're the people you play because we make it possible for you to play. We need you to play, but we could take somebody off the street and put them on there, and people will still watch. Trust
me. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and he was not happy about that at all.
Of course,
he was not happy about that. But
that's where he vents.
It serves him right for being one of for being. Yeah, I won't slander him on the air, but he's.
Well, I think there's, that happens with everything. Once you're like the top of something, and then you take liberties, like you take certain liberties. You think you run shit. You think you're in charge, that you can dictate what happens. And like, for example,
Aaron Rodgers is probably one
players
of the biggest,
with the Niners, and they
biggest disappointments in the league. When he's got one Super Bowl, and it was 72 years ago, and he hasn't been. The thing is, he hasn't even been back. So, but anyway, there's our Aaron Rodgers discussion.
Yeah, right.
The streak continues.
We'll see what Pittsburgh does. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Commanders this year? They got a few tough matchups. They play Packers Thursday Night Football. They play the Chiefs a few weeks after that. They play the Bears later on in the year, a rematch from that Hail Mary. They got a few tough matchups in there, man.
I agree with Kenny a little bit. I think, Kenny, didn't you say last week that you think the Commanders may come back down to earth a little bit? I
think sophomore slump for
I kind of agree with that. Yeah. They can't be as good as they were last year, especially if there's any improvement in the Cowboys. If the Cowboys are going to be as good as everybody thinks they're going to, I'm sorry, they say that shit every year. But if the Cowboys are going to be as good as everybody thinks they are, they'll probably overtake second place in that division. And I think Washington takes a step back. They still may end up making the playoffs, depending. But the NFC is pretty tough this year, man. And if the Bears and the Vikings are everything that everybody thinks they're going to be, these playoff spots are going to fill up quick. And but yeah, the Commanders, overall, they do have a few tough games in there. But they got good coaching. They got some good players. They went out and made some good moves in free agency and the draft. So, who knows? But I do agree with Kenny a little bit. I think there's a sophomore slump coming.
I actually don't like the moves that the Commanders have made. They brought Tunsil over there, fine. But, he's at the end of his career. He's a little older now.
Connolly Jr.
Josh Connolly Jr. with their first pick, I liked. Just like I liked their first pick last year with Jaden Daniels. Beyond that, I'm not impressed. I wasn't impressed last year. And I'm not impressed this year with their draft. I think we all agreed we didn't like their draft this year. Yeah. I also don't think bringing Javon Kinlaw to your team makes anything better. And Deebo Samuel hasn't had 1,000 yards but once in his life. He doesn't run the ball anymore, and he doesn't have Kyle Shanahan. So Deebo Samuel, as much as I loved him on the Niners, I don't see that shit working out.
That's why the 49ers are fine departing with him. That they know that his best years are behind him, and he's.
And that's why Houston parted with Tunsil. He's still one of the top left tackles, but I'm telling you, the guy is older. He's going to need a lot more rotation. I think he's going to be coming down off the great list a little bit.
There's a reason why he bounced around a little bit, so I'll give you that. Yeah, no doubt. All right, we went over some of the international games. I find an interesting one. A few of them actually. I look at the Bucs Lions Monday Night Football, Week 7 prime. Your team going up against the Lions, going up against the Bucs. I'm sorry, it'll be at home, and that's a big game, man. Because I think Emeka Egbuka, their first round draft pick, might be a pretty good one.
Yeah, I agree. I think too that it's always the Tampa. They're always good games when the Bucs and the Lions get together. Kind of like when the Lions and the Seahawks get together. But I'm a down low Baker Mayfield fan. I know Liam Cohen is no longer there, so that's going to make the biggest difference in the world. But
it's going to be a problem.
I think that might be, in comparison, and we'll get into that later. In comparison, that might be one of the easier games on the Lions' schedule, even though, the Bucs are probably going to win that division, be a playoff, or go to the playoffs, not be a contender. Under the Helmet says Detroit has something to prove. It was really surprising how they went to Washington. Yeah, that whole, we won't even relive that. That to me was as bad as Michigan and App State.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
I remember that from
that was
2007. I
Yep.
think it was. Yeah, I remember that.
I still have that game somewhere in the archives. But yeah, I always look forward to the Bucs and the Lions playing. And now my biggest concern is that now you're throwing a Book in there, so that's just one more thing that the Lions had to worry about on a secondary that's not really that great from a cornerback position. You got good safeties, but the corners are still suspect with Detroit. So that's a game I'm looking forward to. However,
Yeah, no doubt.
I know that Tampa Bay, and look, when we did our draft, I was big on saying, like, wide receiver. Why? You got plenty of wide receivers. Jason pointed out Godwin coming back from the injury. Evans was also injured, but also getting a little older. I think you're crazy. You're in the win now mode, as far as I'm concerned. If you're Tampa, this is when you have to do it. So don't get more wide receivers. Like, that's not what you need. You have plenty of weapons over there. Baker can get it to them. Beef up your D and your offense. The weapons and the quarterback and the running backs, that was fine. Didn't have to spend any money on that. They brought in Shiloh. They brought in some nice undrafted free agents. So I like what they did overall, but I don't think that taking Igbokwe with their first pick was the right move. So I don't think.
Yeah. Under the Helmet saying they still got Bucky Irby and Kate Otten. Now they'll have no problem scoring this year. Just
Godwin, Evans. Godwin he's still. I mean, he's healthy now. He's not as healthy as he ever was, but he's healthy now. So
he's
is
still
Evans.
he's still
as
a pretty
soon
good
as
damn
Evans
receiver.
came back, Evans didn't miss a beat when he came back. So
Yeah. He's legit. 1,000 yards every year, man. That's pretty hard to do. That's pretty
it's
consistent.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to a few more games. I don't want to get to too many and beat this into the ground because I want to do the over-unders with you guys. But how about Bills-Bengals in Week 9? That's a juicy one. I think that, wow. I think the Bengals are going to be better this year. We'll get to their over-under. Obviously, Bills, we know we're going to be good. So that could be an important mid-season type of game right there. And that's when both teams, we're going to know what these guys are really starting to be made out of. Bills-Bengals, I think, is a game that jumps out to me in Week 9, Brian.
Yeah, I like that matchup, and I like that it's kind of later on in the season. Cincinnati's another one of those teams, man. It's kind of, was last year a fluke, or was or are they the legit contenders that everybody thought they would be? The last couple of years. Last year they completely their defense completely let them down. And like you said earlier, in the show, Jason, as long as Kansas City's got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're going to be a threat to anything.
Let's not forget Spagnuolo when we talk about the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, their defensive coordinator is a big reason why they were there.
Yeah, their defense, they're probably the most improved defense over like the last 3-4 years, and he's
they had a
probably
nice
the sole
draft.
reason. Yeah,
Well, last year, they were the biggest reason why the Chiefs were where they were. Their defense really carried them. They didn't score over 29 points in a regular season game. I mean, that's how bad their offense was, relatively speaking, to what they usually are.
Yeah, we talked about how many last minute, one possession games that they had. But that's how it's amazing though, real quick, when the Minnesota Vikings did that 4 or 5 years ago when they still had Cousins. The year before they lost a bunch of one possession games.
Right.
People criticize them. The year after that,
They
won a bunch of them. Oh, they're flukes.
Rigged.
Well, it's like, come on, man. It's like you can't, winning a one possession game, no matter who you are, no matter what fashion, whether somebody botches a snap intentionally, nudge, or whatever the case may be. That's still pretty impressive. That shows Kansas City showed a lot of resolve last year until it got to the Super Bowl. They just got overwhelmed.
I think so, no doubt. Well said. Kenny, another game that's interesting, another Monday Night Football game, Eagles and Packers, man. And then in Spain, the Commanders are playing the Dolphins. The Dolphins actually have 5 primetime games this year, and I'm trying to figure out what drugs the schedule makers are on when they do that. Why would you give the Dolphins 5 primetime games? I don't understand.
Listen, I still think it's all about, NFL is about one thing. I said it all the time, money. And Miami's a big market. It's a popular city. There's a lot of people down there. They're trying to get more Spanish people to watch the Dolphins. They have a good thing going down there. And just like the Eagles are winning all these Super Bowls now, just trying to build that fan base up. They want huge fan bases. They want a ton of money. That's what this is about.
Yeah, but you got to also have a winning product on the field. I get that, and I agree 100%. But you also got to have a good product. And Miami's probably been one of the more disappointing teams over the last couple of years, considering the talent that they have on offense. Is Mike McDaniel the coach that everybody thought he was? You know, the little nerdy guy over there on the sidelines. You know, it's a wait and see thing with Miami. But the fact is, or the question is that how long are you going to have to wait and see before they actually do something significant? And
I think Miami would have been fine had Tua stayed healthy, if you want to know what I really think.
If he's healthy, they're a good team. Their offense runs well. Yeah, their offense runs well when Tua's on the field. I agree with you.
HN, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, without Tua in there, they do nothing. With him in there, they're a force. And their defense, they got their defense a little bit better this year. And they got Kenneth Grant, who I had as the number 2 DT in this draft. So.
Let's see if he can perform. They got to do better on defense, no doubt about it. They lost some players. Let's see if they can do well. Thanksgiving, we got our trifecta of games. The Chiefs, they'll play the Cowboys. I love it. The Packers, Lions. I love it. And then the nightcap is Bengals and Ravens, all divisional games. I think they nailed it for Thanksgiving this year. Again, Chiefs at Cowboys, Packers at Lions, and Bengals at Ravens. Yo, that's what's up. That's a good Thanksgiving trifecta right there.
Well, not the Cowboys, but they are America's team.
Well, they have to play on Thanksgiving. We know they're playing on Thanksgiving.
They always do. Yeah, exactly.
There's no way around that one. They're playing in the Lions.
I think they signed a little under the table, not under the helmet, but under the table little deal where the Cowboys are always on for Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah,
it's always the Cowboys, Detroit, and Packers play the most, right?
Bro, you said before they're America's team, right? So there you go.
They're playing each other this time. So here's the passing of the torch, perhaps, right? Can you imagine if the Chiefs lost that game? Look out.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. But
I'm telling you guys, I got Dallas winning that division this year. You can laugh.
Because that's the law. Because there hasn't been a repeat champion for. I think one of the games though that we're kind of overlooking is September 22nd, Monday Night Football on ESPN. Lions at Baltimore.
Yeah.
That game is going to be huge, and when we get into the Lions schedule, we'll go into a little bit more of that. But there's
you're talking about a preview to the Super Bowl.
I was going to say
that. Oh my God! I hope to God it is. But the
problem possible. It's hard when you lose both your coordinators, though. Prime, it just gives me pause for a minute. Like when Philadelphia, they lost both their coordinators. They bounced back, obviously, the year after and win the Super Bowl, but. There is something to be said for that.
Especially with Dan Gamble is all you got now. So you're going to go fourth down on every time. So get ready for that.
And I think he might, in the beginning of the season, he might be a little more conservative. I don't think he'll be as aggressive. But you got to remember, too, that, and I said this last week, that offense is Dan Campbell's offense. So the magic was the sequence that, which Ben Johnson called the plays. But that offense is Dan Campbell's offense. Remember, with his first year there, he fired Terrell Austin, 4, 5, 6 weeks into the season, took over the play calling, and that's when the Lions offense really started to roll before they got Ben Johnson. So
will the DCs adjust?
That's going to be the biggest thing because you got better offenses now in your division alone, let alone what's going on with your road schedule. The Lions,
Guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm not scared of the Packers. I'm not scared of the Bears. The Bears are not going to do a damn thing this year, and the Packers aren't either. It
depends. If Caleb Williams can be 80% of what everybody thinks he's going to be, the Bears are going to win 10 games by default.
They might. Look, they got plenty of pieces now. Again, you figure you have the head coach. Again, the quarterback, you got to remember, Caleb Williams didn't shine last year, but he had 20 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. So
they almost beat the Lions both games. So
you need the synergy, though. You need that chemistry, though. You can't just throw a team together like this is basketball and win. It's not going to.
That's what the offseason is for. That's what minicamp is for. That's what training camp is for.
Sure, if the stars show up, if they ever put on pads, and if they ever play in the preseason game, maybe.
Under the Helmet wants to see the Bills in the Super Bowl more than the Ravens.
Ooh, yeah, I don't mind that at all.
I think eventually they both get there at some point. I think the Ravens maybe more this year, but I don't know. Buffalo, they're damn close, but they got to get past that kryptonite, which is Kansas City, man. Kansas City, again, I don't understand. Why do they keep screwing them over on Christmas? They played Christmas last year against the Raiders. They're doing it again this year against the Broncos, man. That's unfair. Give these guys off on the holidays, for God's sake. Yeah,
That's
like
the premier guy. That's Patrick Mahomes. That's
Thanksgiving
like
and Christmas.
Michael Jordan played on Christmas Day all the time. LeBron
It's like-
James played on
The
Christmas Day all
LeBron
the time.
James,
They're gonna.
exactly.
Yeah.
They don't care,
That's
man.
your.
They don't-
That's the face of your league, and
It's a
people
lot,
want
man.
when you're sitting
Every
on your
day's
ass opening
Christmas when you're
presents,
up.
opening ties and socks and fidget spinners and shit like that. You're gonna want to make sure you want
Listen,
people watching
every
your
day
games.
every day is Christmas for LeBron James and an NFL player. I'm sorry, but like you've already won the lottery. Christmas is every single day. Get your
It's-
ass out
yeah.
there and entertain us.
It's just
I'm
another
sitting
day.
home all
Just
day.
another day at work.
Yeah.
What are some Week 18 games that can have some possible ramifications as far as the playoffs go? Maybe Detroit, Chicago. I'm trying to look down the list. Maybe.
No, there's a Niners Seahawks that could possibly mean something.
I was
It's
gonna say.
possible. yeah, that
I
could
was
be
gonna
maybe
say
a
that.
wild card. Maybe division.
Maybe mean more for Seattle, but whatever. It still I think could be a
Yeah.
very meaningful game because I tell you, Kyle ain't tanking. Kyle does not tank.
We
No.
got
think-
Green Bay, Minnesota. That could be a really big one. I'm very interested in that. Maybe
That's-
Miami and New England are fighting for the last playoff spot.
Yeah.
They play each other. Washington, Philly. That could be for the division.
Yeah.
Baltimore-
Jason, Jason, I'm curious to do you recall, or either one of you guys, do you guys recall when there were all four division opponents playing on week 8? The last week of the season. I don't remember because, like you say, you got Packers and Vikings,
Yeah.
and then you got the Lions and the Bears. I don't remember. Especially in the NFC North, I don't remember when it's ever been like that. When all four,
They
you
do.
had the division games, or you had all division games on one day, but that Chicago-Detroit game is a flex game. So depending on how those two teams do during the season, that could end up being, like a prime time type game. That
Well,
could be like
usually
an NBC game.
Week 18, usually the big boys take off because they already locked in their positions, and so they
If
usually
they are. But then
If they-
again, in some circumstances, you're fighting it out for the division, or maybe you're fighting out to win the division.
I
You both
think
have the
that's
same
why
record.
they did it because they don't
That's
want
exactly
people
Oh, I
why they
love
checking
the, I
out.
love
They
the,
don't want
I
people
love it, but I
checking
just,
out,
it's on
right?
you. It's kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's, I probably look back and it's probably been done 1,000 times, but just this particular, because it's the NFC North, it just kind of strikes like, wow. I don't remember the last time that happened. It was probably last year.
Well, the Niners start with the Seahawks on week 1, and then they end with them week 18. That is pretty cool, man. That's something I don't think I've ever remember happening before.
1 to 18. Yeah, it
That's
doesn't happen
weird.
that often. You're right about that.
Wow, that's 16 games where you don't see each other, but you saw each other when nobody was ready to play football, and now you're
Right.
seeing each other on the last day of football.
It
fucking
very
wild.
seldom happens. I remember a year where the Patriots played the Bills week 1, and they didn't play again until week 17. That's when they had 17
That's still
weeks.
pretty good.
That's crazy. All right, over-unders real quick. There are 4 teams that have 11.5 wins for the over-under. You guys want to guess who it is?
No.
I'm assuming Baltimore is probably one of them.
Baltimore's 1.
Baltimore's one. I would assume the Chiefs are one.
The Chiefs are 1.
The Bills
The Bills are another. You got one more.
and
Come
I'm
on.
gonna go out on a limb here and say because I know it. Well, depending on what line it is.
You're
Is it
forgetting
the
an
Lions?
obvious team. You're forgetting a very obvious team.
Who did I say? Bills, Chiefs,
It's the Bills, Chiefs, Ravens.
and Ravens. The
Are
only
there
other.
just AFC teams?
No, there's one more. Who won the
I
Super
mean,
Bowl
I
last
was
year?
gonna say.
That's what I was gonna
guess the
say, Philly.
Eagles. I would think the
But
Eagles.
there's some
Eagles, there
people
you
not
go.
even picking Philly. But well, Kenny's not picking them to win the
Eagles
division.
is
but-
it. I think Buffalo, due to their division, I think it may be improving on the side of New England maybe a little bit. I think they can get to 12 wins. I would pick over for Buffalo, I think. Where would
Yeah,
you go?
because I would too, because I don't think their division, not this year. I don't think the rest of the division is caught up with them just yet.
And the
it's
Bills
gonna
have a
be
pretty
New England.
easy schedule.
Oh
They-
my
they
God,
don't
one of
have a
the
lot
easiest in the
schedule.
league. I think one of
Yeah.
the easiest in the league. So
Yeah.
outside of
The
your
easiest-
Niner,
One of the easiest schedules and one of the biggest chokers in history in the playoffs. So
who's that?
Josh Allen.
Oh,
No,
stop it.
oh my
Stop
God!
it.
You watch the
Wait,
football
other-
game?
Stop
There's
it.
one big
Kenny.
one.
Are you a Lamar
There's
Jackson
one-
fan?
Kenny.
No, Lamar Jackson is even worse in the playoffs.
Wait,
Okay.
Kenny, do you watch the games? You're gonna blame any of these on Josh
Wow.
Allen?
I blame
You're
the
telling
leader.
me with
I blame
We
the
need to
leader.
binge watch the last
I
few
blame the
Bills
13
leader.
playoff
seconds
games.
left. You
I
blame Josh
the
Allen?
quarterback and I blame the head
Wow.
coach. The quarterback and the head coach
Wow.
are who you go to when it comes
Wow.
down to it. Those are the leaders of your
Wow.
team. If they can't get your team together and lead them, then they're the losers.
I think I'll apologize for Josh Allen
I-
putting
I-
up 30 points consistently on Kansas City every game they play. I'm sorry about that.
Besides the last year and a half, he's been a terrible with turnovers for his entire career.
No, he hasn't.
But he's also has the. If you look at that, and
He's
not been
always
great, but he
top
also has the
5,
best
top 3
touchdown.
most
He also
turnovers.
has the best TD
fumbles
to
and
interception
interceptions.
ratio of any quarterback over the last 5
He
years.
has to. He's giving
No,
the
the
ball
helmet's on
away.
our
He's gotta
side.
make up for it.
And when he's the single focal point of your offense, you're just similar to Lamar Jackson. He's the fact that he handles the ball so much. I'm surprised. It's that he doesn't turn the ball over
That's
more.
like
Josh
when-
Allen.
that's like when-
I apologize, Josh Allen. Fans.
That's like when Jimmy G would throw
Sorry
an
about that.
interception and then he threw a touchdown. People would applaud. Like,
How
bro,
can you
you're the
say
one-
Jimmy G and Josh Allen in the same sentence? and
I'll
actually
use a
breathing?
different analogy. It's like the guy who starts the fire and then puts it out, and he wants you to fucking pat him on the
Oh.
back for it.
Oh my lord. Well,
I
don't know.
started a
Both-
huge fire, but I put it out before the house went on fire. So
I wonder if
congratulate me.
I wonder if the Eagles are going to be 11.5. I don't know. That's kind of tough. They have a tough division now. Washington, Dallas. Maybe the Giants grab a win from Philadelphia.
They also have a tough
No.
schedule, correct? The Eagles have a
Yeah,
pretty tough schedule.
You know
Yeah,
what?
Eagles.
The Eagles don't even play one back-to-back home game this whole year.
I was gonna
Wow.
mention that. Yeah, that's insane.
Oh, see, that
not
seems
one.
like it was
how
on
is-
purpose.
That's not fair. I think if they
Not
did
fair.
that in the NBA, there'd be like an upheaval about you can't.
That
you
sounds
can't
like it was
do
planned.
that. In
That
the
sounds
NFL,
planned.
you can't do that. When I saw that, I was instantly shocked because the Super Bowl champs don't have back-to-back home games.
Yeah,
That's-
man, they're getting dogged, bro. Big.
They're going to make
time.
them earn it. If the Eagles are going to repeat or even be close, the schedule makers are going to make them earn it.
You guys know I'm the conspiracy guy, and for example, when the expansion teams came out, when the Panthers came out, the Panthers and Jaguars, was that what came out, right?
Yeah.
The Panthers won like right away, almost like the
Yeah, they won
Diamondbacks.
fast.
Like when
They
the
both went
Diamondbacks-
to their championship
like when
games
the
the same year.
Diamondbacks came out, 'cause
Yeah.
they want that to succeed, bro. It's rigged. They wanted to succeed, and they wanted to build that fan base in Carolina, and now it's a disaster. They don't want teams to fail. They don't want to start football teams and have them fail. That doesn't make anybody money.
But
You have to
everybody
keep
can't
these
succeed
teams
though.
out there.
That's
Everybody
the problem.
everybody can't be 12-5.
Well,
That's-
only
so
when
you're always-
New England Patriots win 7 out of 10 years, and the Chiefs win 4 out of 10 years, or whatever. It's like, no, then you can't. But when you start having the best drafts this year, in my opinion, were had by the best teams in the league. How are the best drafts for the teams that are picking at the end of the draft? How the hell is
Because
that?
it's better
Because-
coaching, it's better organizational situations. There's a reason why New England is New England and Buffalo is Buffalo. There's
But
Right,
that's
and
why-
you're
reason,
looking
right?
at it. You're looking at it in a totality, where a Kansas City Chiefs or Philadelphia Eagles only need one player, whereas the Browns or I don't know, the Saints, they need to go ahead
Colts or
and
something.
hit
But
on
that's
everybody.
why the best coaches always go to the worst teams. You have your opportunity, so I don't want to hear that. If Ben Johnson's so great, we're going to find out, right? 'Cause he
But
just
you
went
know
to
what,
a
too?
terrible team,
Yeah.
and he went to a
It's
terrible
time to-
team to do what they want. The
But
Bears
the
will
worst
always be
teams-
watched because they're
But the
Bears.
worst teams
they
stay the
suck.
worst teams. They stay the worst teams because they recycle coaches every 2-3 years. There's no longevity
yeah.
anymore. Ben Johnson,
You can't
Aaron
do
Glenn.
that, and I'm
Believe me
against
when
that.
I tell you, Aaron Glenn's got 2 years.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
got
no,
2
listen.
years.
And when
Ben
you have
Johnson will
bad
probably get a
management-
little bit more leeway, but Aaron Glenn, a lot of these new coaches got 2 years at the most,
I
and they're
disagree
done.
with that. I
Think
disagree.
about
Halfway
the
through
last time-
season
look,
3,
yo,
they'll
listen.
be gone.
Listen,
You have to
think
give
about the
people
last
time.
time, Kenny. Think about the last time the Raiders were good or the Jets were good. It's bad management. The Browns were good. They just
Look
don't
at-
have good management.
But look at this year, the Raiders. They got Spytech, they got Chip Kelly, they got Tom Brady, and they got Pete Carroll. Can
They
they
got-
not turn this around?
They got 50 hands in the pot. You know, you need
Yeah.
to have decision makers. There's too many people mixing
That's why
around.
New England. That's why New
They
England
got-
was what they were, because it was Belichick and everybody knew it. It was Belichick, Brady, and everybody
But-
else just followed suit.
Yeah, well, I would say it was just
Same
Brady.
thing with Kansas City.
I would
It's
say it was
Reed and-
Brady and the NFL changing the rules for him to be on top. But Belichick,
Oh my
without
God.
Brady,
Oh.
without Parcells,
Oh,
is complete
Jesus.
garbage. Period.
What's
Bill
that?
Bill Belichick without Parcells, without Tom Brady, is a horrible
I
quarterback.
agree
and I have the
1,000% on
numbers
that.
on that shit.
I
So
agree.
it's not about Bill Belichick. And
No, I'm
Bill
saying at,
Belichick-
at the
Bill
time,
Belichick-
at the time,
Bill
it was
Belichick
Brady and
didn't
Belichick.
develop
So,
Tom Brady. He's a defensive
Kenny.
coordinator.
You're going to go on record right now and say that Bill Belichick is a bad coach?
He's a bad coach without his without
Okay.
Tom Brady and without Bill Parcells. And I have all the numbers. I could tell them you right now.
Well, everybody has all the numbers because all Bill Belichick had was Tom Brady, and before that, he was just an assistant coach. So as soon as he got to New England, before it became Tom Brady, his defense was winning championships and put the greatest show on turf to shame. Shut them down in the Super Bowl.
He's
That
had
was
other
Bill
good
Belichick and his
quarterbacks. I got a
It
bunch of
wasn't
stats.
Tom Brady.
I got a bunch of stats. It's not just Tom Brady.
I didn't
It's not
say
just
it was
Tom-
just Tom Brady. I'm saying that it was certainly both of them because especially the first 3 championships were based on the defense, and we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
How can you say Bill Belichick is a bad coach?
Belichick is a bad coach without Tom Brady, is what I said, and without Bill Parcells, and that's 100% true.
Listen,
I
the greatest
think-
quarterback
I
of all
think-
time. Go ahead, Prime. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think that
What did
Belichick.
Bill
it
Walsh
was
do
without
without
Brady,
Joe
but New England had a pretty bad roster once Brady left.
Sorry about that, guys.
It's not like they had the greatest roster
Getting
in
used
the world
to
either.
using these headphones.
When you
So-
lose the best quarterback in the entire world and he goes to another team, you have to imagine your team is not going to look that good. And Cam Newton in his 12th year, what did you expect to happen?
Yeah, there's in every team.
Cam Newton had one good year, didn't he?
Yeah, and when they went to the Super Bowl, he was the MVP.
And they never did anything else, the Panthers.
Did nothing. No, not at the
But
end.
as soon as they were a team, they were great, but then never anything else. It's kind of weird.
Anyway, back to these over-unders real quick. We've been talking about the Lions a lot, and Prime, they're your team. Look, what'd they go, 15-2 last year?
Absolutely.
They only got them at 10.5 wins, man. That's a big drop. So they're thinking that these coaches and the injuries, maybe Aiden Hutchinson not being ready, that's a big drop-off, man.
It's the schedule, man. They go to Baltimore, they go to Cincinnati, they go to Kansas City, to Washington, to Philadelphia, to LA to play the Rams, and then not to mention your away games against the Vikings, Packers, and Bears. It's absolutely insane that the schedule makers did. You play 7 of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, on the road. That's one of the reasons why Vegas. I do the Aiden Hutchinson thing. I agree with 100%. Aleem McNeil's not going to probably be back around till Halloween. Aiden Hutchinson probably won't be back to form until around week 5, week 6, week 7 of the season. But I think the schedule, their home schedule. Actually, the game in week I think 11 or 12 they play the Giants, so I will be at that game. But they play the Cowboys, they play the Steelers. Then you got your division games. That you play. So you got Tampa Bay at home, we talked about earlier. Yes, the Lions' schedule is brutal. So I picked them. I took the over on the 10.5. I still think they're going to win 11 games. But if they win 12 games with the schedule that they have, this will go down in history as one of the biggest shocks from just from a schedule maker standpoint. I can't believe they did that to them, man. The whole NFC North kind of got hosed, but the Lions in particular, they have to go on the road and play all of those teams that I just met. That's insane. It just bugs the hell out of me.
That happens to the Niners every year. The Niners have a tough schedule almost every year because they do well, and they also have the most traveling because of where they're situated on the globe.
Yeah.
Compared to other teams.
No, I'm not comparing anything that the Niners have been up against this. This is
Detroit.
This is crazy.
Detroit got to be good for 1 year, and that's going to be all of it. That's it. They're done. As far as their draft, it was pure garbage, and we all agreed their draft was pure garbage. Speaking
of the Niners, man, they have just as many over-under win total as the Lions do, and they won 6 games last year. 10.5. Penny. How about that? 10.5 wins over-under for the 49ers in the 2025 season. What?
At least half of Vegas has the Niners winning that division still, maybe more. The Niners were decimated by injuries. They had 3 newborns pass away in their organization. They had their first pick in the draft was shot. We had Nick Sorensen at DC. There was a lot of reasons that the Niners were not good last year, and they still won 6 games with their 3rd and 4th stringers. I don't know why the Niners people think the Niners are out of this. You think winning 6 games in the NFL is easy? Is that what you're saying?
They are.
I'm
not saying it's easy, but you're all
especially with 3rd and 4th stringers. They did beat Tampa Bay, one of the teams that they
and the Lions had guys on injured reserve at one time and won 15 games.
And didn't miss
With a
beat.
more difficult schedule.
Exactly.
With a more difficult
and
schedule.
didn't miss a beat.
But what I'm saying is though is
Yeah.
that the Niners, your guys' biggest problem is going to be your quarterback. And
We
I
have
think
one good offensive lineman, and he missed 7 games last year.
Yeah, your
That's
guy's
the huge
biggest
part.
question mark is going to be quarterback. They still haven't extended him yet. There's a reason why they haven't, and I think
Because they do it to everybody every
They're
year.
still window shopping, and I don't think
No.
the Niners. I'm taking the under on the 10.5 for the
The
Niners.
Niners sign their players a week before the season starts every year, except for
That's
like
fine.
3 or 4
That's fine.
guys. They do
But
it
the
all
guy
the
that
time.
you're
They
signing a week
lowball
before is
everyone.
Brock Purdy.
He ain't
We'll
going
see.
nowhere. He ain't going nowhere.
Well,
And he
they
knows it. And he knows
And
it.
again, this is according to Vegas Insider, by the way. I want to make sure I give him
Especially
credit.
since everyone thinks he's terrible, right? So nobody else wants him anyway. He's not a good quarterback, so don't worry about it. He's going to be a Niner.
What about the Bucks at 9.5? 9.5. That seems just about right because
Yeah.
they could be a 9 or a 10-win team. But when I look at that division, I'm not afraid of the Falcons. Carolina's on the come up, but they're not quite there yet. And New Orleans, I mean, unless Tyler Shock is like shocking the world, then he's amazing. I don't know.
I see what you
I'm
did.
gonna have to go. I think Tampa Bay is. I don't want to say easy, but that would be one team I would look for the over.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest.
They have
division
no,
in
yeah, they have
football.
no competition.
They might win 11 games this year. I like Tampa Bay. I take the over all day on that.
Yeah, the Falcons may be right up behind them, I think, for a lot of the season. I think they could be very closely behind, but only because of how bad that division is.
Yeah,
Bad division, man.
it's
Very
those
bad.
two, and then it's like Michigan, Ohio State, and then everybody. Well, before this past year.
Before
Yeah,
the,
Yeah,
Here's one I would take the under on, and that would be the Miami Dolphins, and it's only 8.5 wins. Guys, I don't see anything coming good out of Miami. Even if Tua is playing, just guys are getting a little bit older. Like Tyreek Hill, I don't see him playing a full season this year. I really don't. And their defense, they give up a lot of points. Now, granted, the division isn't that tough, but I know that the Patriots play him tough. The Jets always play him tough.
That's what
and
I was just gonna
Buffalo
say.
owns him. Buffalo
the-
owns him.
the division is a lot harder. That's all I have to say about that. So that's, yeah.
yeah, and I don't see. What was the? You say 8.5?
Only 8.5.
And
I
plus
think that
Tua,
tells you all you need to know right there.
and
I'd
Tua's
take the
probably going to
under.
miss a game. At least he's going to miss a game. or two.
I was just gonna say that. Good call, Kenny. I was
Right.
just gonna say that. I go. They could win 8 games. But that's still the under. I'd take the under on that.
Yeah.
I'd
Now,
take the
here's a
under all
really
day.
interesting one. The Minnesota Vikings,
Oh, gee.
8.5. Only 8.5 after a 14-win season last year. Now, I know it was Sam Darnold, and you're bringing in J.J. McCarthy, but all around him is really, I don't want to say an amazing, excellent, but a pretty
They got
damn
a pretty
good
damn good
football
roster.
team.
They got
Damn good
they got a
roster,
good
right?
football team up
They
there.
have a
Yeah.
good roster.
In the land of the pickled herring, they got a really good football
Right?
team up there. You still got Justin Jefferson. You still got Jordan Addison. You still got a really good offensive line.
Fryer
still
Muth is
gotta-
healthy, right?
Yep.
Fryer Muth is healthy.
You got
Not Brian Moore, T.J.
Hawkinson.
Hawkinson.
TJ
Hawkinson.
Hawkinson. Sorry about that.
You got a good defense. I won't say a great defense, but you got a really Kevin O'Connell, as we talked about before. Kevin O'Connell's a really, really good head coach. They'll do whatever they have to do to tailor their schemes around what McCarthy can do best. And if it's just dink and dunk and hit you every now and then with a 40-yarder, that's exactly what they'll do. 8.5. You know what? I'm gonna take the under.
Yeah,
take
I
the
like the over. I think they can win 9 games.
Really?
I'm gonna take the
With
under.
that schedule.
I'm gonna take the under because the schedule is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
And also,
It is.
also because look, JJ McCarthy could be good. All I know him as is JJ McMissing. Haven't
But-
seen the guy. Don't know
He
what
could
he's
also. Go ahead, Kenny. I'm sorry.
And real quick, and then I'm done. The only thing I just saw an article about Sam Darnold talked about why he had such a good season last year. Does anybody want to guess why?
Because of Kevin O'Connell.
Prime, you got to guess?
That's what I was going to say. Kevin O'Connell or
No.
his receiving core.
He didn't talk about the Vikings at all. He said one thing. He said being with the Niners for 1 year is what made him
Interesting.
elevate his
I was
game.
thinking that. That's interesting. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he
Under the
said.
helmet going over 9 wins
Shots
to the
fired.
Bucks over there.
Hell
Yeah, I
yeah.
could-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bucks, man. Let's do a couple more because I want to run through the schedule real quick and I don't want to go too much over time. But one I was really shocked at, guys, they really think the New England Patriots are going to take a huge jump this year. 8.5 wins. Whoa.
Ooh, well, I don't know about that
That's
kind
a
of jump.
lot.
I mean,
Big jump.
But think about it, though. I mean, four of those wins could come at the expense of the Dolphins and the Jets. I don't think the Jets. I don't think the Jets are going to be a threat. I don't. We talked about what the over and under with the Dolphins. I could see the Patriots winning 9 games.
Wow, that
even Drake May. Who's they just running back? They just
TreVeyon Henderson.
Henderson.
I mean, and then they had your boy was Ramondre Stevenson. They got a good
Antonio
offensive line.
Gibson.
They brought in Stephon Diggs.
Their defense is going to be good because that's
England
what Vrabel is. I could, and their schedule's not that hard. I can see. I'll take. You know what, fans, take the over.
I tell you what,
take the over. How you doing?
I really like their draft was also quite good.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, they don't think that Cam Ward is going to do much of shit when he becomes the Titans starting quarterback. 5.5 wins for the Tennessee Titans, man. Oh, goodness gracious. Cam Ward.
Sounds about right. I'm going to say 5 wins for them, so under.
Yeah, I might go 1-2, man, unless he's absolutely amazing. I don't know.
He's going to have to be. He's going to have to be Jaden Daniels for them to be well. Let's go, Papa J.
I agree. I think that's 3 for 3. I'll take the under on that. So I think Cam Ward, if they do win 5 games, they'll be all because of Cam Ward. And when they lose the other 12, they'll all be because of Cam Ward. So
yeah,
he's going to have like a dichotomy of he'll have the tale of 2 seasons. He'll go through his rookie pains, and then who's their coach? They don't have the greatest. He didn't fall into the best situation in the world either.
I'm sorry, I don't know the coach's name, but I know that he's not a bad coach. Like, he's someone that's there because he's good with quarterbacks, and I think that was the point.
Who's Tennessee's head coach?
Tennessee's head coach.
Oh, it's Callahan.
Well, yeah, and is he good with quarterbacks? Because that's what I thought was the whole point of him going there, and for Ward to go there, because he is good with the quarterback. Or the OC is, or something. There's something where Tennessee.
Arthur Smith is their OC.
Oh.
Well, that's not it then.
He's the guy from Pittsburgh. So, but he didn't have a whole lot to do.
Not really a quarterback.
He didn't have much to work with over there.
That's true.
20th head coach in the history of the Titans, Brian Callahan. They haven't even been around that long.
Man, you mentioned the Lions' schedule before, and it is a murderer's row. You got Green Bay, Chicago, Baltimore, then maybe a little break with Cleveland, back in Cincinnati.
Maybe a break.
Their schedule is brutal.
First, Tampa, Minnesota, Washington, Philly, the Giants, Green Bay, Dallas, the Rams, the Steelers,
the Ravens. It's crazy.
Yo,
that's why they put it at 10.5, man. I'm gonna go 11.
That's why.
Wow. Okay. If you want to know if someone has a tough schedule, look at it next to the Niners schedule, and that'll help you. Because the Niners truly have a garbage schedule set up.
The Giants schedule is pretty rough too, though. The Giants, like I said, the Giants, Bears, and the Lions, I think all tied for it was like a 571.
And that's not
opponent's
fair.
winning percentage. No,
that's not fair that the Giants have a tough schedule.
It's all right.
Yeah, the Giants, they start out with the Commanders, then the Cowboys to play the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Then you got the Chargers, Saints, Philly, Thursday Night Football,
and
Denver,
Broncos, the Eagles,
again.
Fucking your Niners, Lions, the Patriots, the Commanders, the Raiders. The Raiders are probably going to be. The Raiders are going to be one of those teams you kind of watch under the radar just because you want to see what Ashton Genty does. But yeah, the Giants' schedule is pretty brutal, man.
So you guys are making me depressed that I have to wait a few more months for this start of the season.
I'm having anxiety right now, man.
That's why push the draft back a little bit, maybe just like another 3 weeks or a month, and have that draft lottery going on just to expand everything. We need more. I know minicamp is opening up and OTAs or whatever the fuck they call it anymore. I don't even understand.
No TAs, exactly.
Right, no TAs.
Really. Yeah, but we'll see. But coming soon, I think it's June 10th. So a little less than a month away is teams were starting to report, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, and is Aaron Rodgers going to be there? We shall see.
Yes, their mandatory OTAs at June 10th is when everybody has to show up.
Yeah.
And training camp starts after that.
Put up or shut up then. And yeah, the 49ers, you mentioned they had kind of a cake schedule. Seattle, I'm wondering what they're going to be with Sam Darnold. Will we see Jalen Milroe toward the end of the year? I don't know. That's a possibility. But Kenny, you were talking about opening up, like you mentioned, with Seattle. They closed with Seattle. So bookend on that. New Orleans, Arizona, Jacksonville. course, you got to play the Rams. The Bucs will be a tough game. Atlanta, Houston, the Giants. We got Cleveland in there. Carolina is a Monday night game. Why would they have 49ers play Carolina on Monday Night Football?
Everybody's going to want a ticket
Bryce
to that
Young
game.
on Monday Night Football.
Oh,
Are
my
you
God.
ready?
Yeah, I don't know what the schedule is a little weird this year. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, a little weird. And then they play Indianapolis on Monday Night Football too. Like, what are they trying to do over here? What's happening?
Daniel Jones,
They're
baby.
trying to make the Niners look good still because people are like starting to fade on the Niners. And I'm telling you, you can't let these big market teams that bring in a ton of money look bad. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know.
Daniel Jones on Monday Night Football because we know he's going to win that job.
That's why I feel like Dallas is going to be good this year. There's no way that they can be a bad team. It's not going to be allowed. It won't be allowed. I like the O-line. Honestly, I like the O-line. I like the wide receivers. I like the running backs as a committee. And Dak is Dak. He's going to Dak, but we know he can be a quarterback. I mean, let's not get crazy. I'm not going to say Dak is a bad quarterback. I'm not going to say that.
We know we don't get repeat champions in that division. Do you think that Philadelphia is going to be overtaken by Dallas or Washington?
I think it's going to be Dallas, but it very well could be Washington.
Okay. What about you, Prime? Do you agree? Will Philly be dethroned in that division?
If they do, it'll be by Dallas. I don't think it'll be by Washington because we said earlier that Washington was probably going to take a step back.
I think so.
I think that you fools are totally underestimating Philly's roster.
Well, no. That's what I was going to get to. But I think when it's all said and done, Philly's roster,
what if Jalen
unfair.
Hurts?
It's unfair to have a roster that
seven games. What if Jalen Hurts misses 7 games?
Well, then that's totally different.
Yeah. What if Dak Prescott misses 7 games? Same freaking thing. That's a problem.
So right now, going into the season,
especially when you let go of Cooper Rush,
I'm going to say Philly repeats. Philly's going to be the first repeat champion in that division in 246 years.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Howie, what up, though? How you doing?
With 8 games in that division.
Whoa, hey, you know what, Howie? Hey, if they do that, me and you, I'll fly to where you are. We'll go out for a Heineken.
You better get a Chicago deep dish is what you're going to get.
There you go.
Philly may still be the front runner in that division, but how about the NFC North, where you got the defending champion in that division, the Lions, who have lost a lot in the coaching area, but they still got their players. Minnesota putting in a rookie quarterback, but have a great team surrounding him. Chicago now with Ben Johnson and talent all over the place. Just got to be put together. And then the Green Bay Packers, who may be the most underachieving team. I don't know what's going on with them. They should be better than what they are.
I could see them coming in last in that division. I guarantee you it's going to be the Bears or the Packers last in that division.
Maybe so.
I think the Lions are going to win that division, but they're not going to. Well, actually, they didn't run away with it. Everybody thought they were going to run away with it last year when they were winning, and then Minnesota kept winning.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I couldn't even believe it. I bet against them like 7 times.
It was but it was fun to watch though. You know, as a fan of football, it was fun to see that. You know, coming down to the last game, and Sam Darnold just crapped the bed as we kind of knew he would. But
Didn't they beat us last year? They beat us last year for like the 37th year in a row or something. Didn't that happen last year? Was that or the year before?
Was that last year? Yeah.
I thought it was last year.
But I think the Lions repeat.
3rd or 4th week.
I think 11-6 wins that division. I can see it'll probably go Lions, Packers, Vikings, or Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings. I can't.
Vikings
I'm not.
I think Detroit's going to be the only team in that division that has a good record. That's what I think.
Oh no, I kind of agree, but like I said, I'm just saying the order that I see them finishing in. I see because the Packers, I wouldn't say underachieving, considering the fact that Jordan Love is only going into his 3rd season, and he's won 22, 23 games his first couple years. So, I mean, he's been hurt. He played hurt. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but to win 11 and 12 games in his first 2 seasons as a quarterback. Starting quarterback, that's pretty impressive, man.
He got paid for sitting on the bench for 3.5 years, bro.
The Vikings are at 8.5 total wins. I'm going over on that all the way. Kevin O'Connell is quarterback whisperer. They got tons of talent all over the place, man. I think they're going to do really well. Shh, be quiet.
Did you see the
throw the ball?
First of all, I just want to real quick highlight the Papa J comment where Taylor Swift is going to be the new Monday Night Football singer for the song. I could see that totally happening.
Oh, Jesus, don't.
And then Howie has a question about naming the best coaches in order in that division.
Well,
Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell, Kevin
Obviously,
O'Connell.
you're going to say Dan Campbell.
I'm
I
not
think
gonna
Dan
say
Campbell
Dan.
is. He might be the scariest coach in that division.
Dan
But
Campbell's the best
McVay.
coach in that.
I'm going to say
Dan-
McVay is the
he-
best coach.
He's saying in that
McVay.
division. He's saying in that
McVay's
division.
not that division.
Oh,
The best
Green Bay
coach, the
Packers?
best coach is Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell. It's your boy LaFleur in
I'm sorry,
Green
LaFleur
Bay.
is what I meant, not McVay.
I
LaFleur,
think
and then Ben Johnson.
LaFleur is
Right
extremely underrated. This guy wins
Absolutely
like
is.
12, 13 games everywhere. I like LaFleur. I like Kevin O'Connell. Then I like Campbell, and I don't know what to expect out of Ben Johnson yet.
That's my order as well. I didn't mean McVay. I'm sorry. I confused McVay and LaFleur. That's my bad.
Howie says Dan Campbell with 0 coordinators. Yes, that's why he's going to prove that he's the best coach. I'll
Hey,
say
Kyle
that.
Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan doesn't need any coordinators.
No. I think
Apparently,
coordinators are
he likes to do
overrated.
everything by himself.
Coordinators are overrated.
They are. They become bad.
Defensive coordinators, especially, it's read and react. Where's the ball go? That's where you go.
Yeah.
I don't
Rush,
know.
rush quarterback.
I just
Stop
saw
middle.
this.
Get in the
As a-
way. Defensive guys' job is just to get in the way.
Kyle Shanahan
I'm
has
kidding,
lost.
of course.
He's like 1-9 versus Spagnuolo, Schwartz, and Flores. That just goes to show.
Say
it
that
could
middle name again.
be, Schwartz. Josh Schwartz.
Isn't that something? That guy went from getting kicked out of Detroit to being one of the best, most respected defensive
yeah.
coordinators. And Jim
Some
Schwartz.
people are what
Gotta
they
find
are.
your niche.
Stay in
Awesome.
your lane. Yes.
I like Jim Schwartz. I like his personality. I've always liked Jim Schwartz. Even
They
when he
beat
was
us.
coaching here
They
and not
beat
winning.
us. I know that. They beat us.
Schwartz,
The
not
handshake,
bad.
him and Harbaugh. Remember that? I'm sure you guys do. The handshake,
Yeah.
a little too aggressive there. He didn't like it. All right, he's about to go at Harbaugh. That was awesome.
Absolutely, man.
We
Absolutely.
should have played again the next season. Just for
It's good when the
must-see.
suits get into a fight, right? Like on the
Mhm.
basketball court when the basketball coaches
With
go
the
at it. I
coaches?
love that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's always fun. I
But
love it.
historically, the NFL doesn't give a damn. That you're absolutely right, Howie.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. They don't. That's why they gave him the schedule, and they just proved it this year that with the schedule that they gave him.
Brutal. It was.
Our
brutal.
Giants got a tough one too, though, Howie. We got to win that. I'm going to that game, week 12, Lions versus Giants here at Ford Field. So I'll send you
Oh.
a shout out.
I think Jameer Gibbs or Amon St. Ra could most definitely be the answer to that question, Howie.
Question: is there one possible injury, not QB? Same, or another Aiden Hutchinson injury because I don't think you're. Yeah, but number one, I would go St. Brown because he hasn't. They've been very lucky.
That's my
been
target,
very,
number one
very
this year for
fortunate.
fantasy.
Or Gibbs.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, he won me a fantasy league last year, man. I drafted him in both leagues. I drafted him my first pick. I had 8th overall, and I was happy enough.
We
What-
can't stay.
Yeah.
We can't stay on fantasy too long. But Jason, are you staying away from Jamar Chase next year, or this year coming up, or what do you think? Same thing he's
No.
going to do next year?
He's way too good. He's absolutely insane. Jamar Chase has just got every gift that you can
I've
ask
been
for. as a wide
I've been
receiver.
hearing things. And people are like, I don't know. We're not sure about Chase this year. A couple big creators are saying that. I don't know.
Quick
No, he's
question
gonna
about
kill it.
Jamar Chase. Do you guys think when it's all said and done, will he be a Hall of Famer?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Triple Crown winner last year, man. He's
He
well on
is.
his way.
He's special, and he's not a big guy. He's
Right.
not a big dude. He's
Not tremendous, yeah.
He gets it done, man. There's
Which is
someone-
why T. Higgins is so nice to have, right?
Yeah.
6'4".
They
I love
complement
big
each other
receivers.
really well. But real quick, before we get out of here, let's see if we have any fantasy. No, not fantasy. Excuse me. Draft. Draft
Say don't
dubs.
do it. Lions are falling hard.
Because
Yeah,
Couldn't
they'll
be
fall from
fantasy.
15
I got
to
my
11.
mind on fantasy right now.
Now
but
I'm thinking about fantasy.
a couple of names came to my mind, guys, before you guys go in. The first one was Shamar Stewart for Cincinnati. This is a guy who didn't put up like any stats anywhere for anything, and he was another one of those underwear Olympics kind of guys, and he can run a 40 in like 2 seconds flat, and he can bust down a brick building with one shot. I know he's strong, I know he's fast, I know he's athletic, but I'm yet to see it. And if he didn't do it against college players prime, how was he going to do it against the pros?
Yeah, I agreed. He was going to be one of the guys that I said I had two in particular. He was one of them. I don't. The stats matter when you go from the college to the. We pick college guys because of their stats, for the most part. And he didn't. What is it? Texas A&M, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it's
Yeah.
not like he was playing against decent competition. But
Shout out George Teague.
there you go.
Yeah.
Shout out Richmond Webb.
Richmond Webb.
Shout out.
Richmond Webb. My bad.
Richmond
He's
Webb for
out
the
there.
Hall of Fame. We pushed that on the show. Can't be a
That's right.
fan of the show unless you don't agree with that.
What?
Um,
What?
But yeah, I think he's one of the guys that he's gonna. Now you can define bust as a guy that's not a superstar or a guy that just flat out just can't play. It's kind of like an extreme there. I think he's gonna be one of those guys that it's sooner or later he'll end up being just a rotation guy. I don't see him doing anything significant.
Yeah, he's not going to be Trey Hendrickson's bookend, in my opinion.
Especially if Hendrickson leaves, which he probably won't.
No, he won't.
Because he hasn't come right out and said he wants to trade.
He's just crying like TJ Watt did to get more money.
Yeah.
Kenny, you know who I think may also be a bust? And this may be weird because we've heard a lot of great things about him, but then we heard that he may be the 6th or 7th best player at his own position if it was the draft the year before. And that's Cam Ward for Tennessee. He's not going to a great situation, number one. We don't know a hell of a lot about him. We know that he transferred and he could play. He did well in Miami. We understand that his numbers are pretty good. But a lot of that was off-schedule type of stuff. I want to see him drop back, pass the ball accurately, and play football that way. Do I know that he can do it? Look, I'm sure he can, but I haven't seen it yet. So you know what? I don't know about Cam Ward. He may be one of those guys where it's like, where is he in 3 years?
I think it's going to be really hard for their offense to stay on the field, and that's really what it's going to come down to.
Fair.
I mean, what's the guy? The guy who is in Pittsburgh now, the quarterback.
Mason Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph. He was getting the ball to Calvin Ridley on a pretty regular basis, and now you got Calvin Ridley and you have Travis Hunter. So maybe that will. I'm sorry, I keep messing up. I keep confusing Jaguars and Tennessee. Tennessee is going to have a really hard time staying on the field.
Yeah, they only have Tyler Lockett and Calvin Ridley. I mean, for God's sake, Tyler Lockett.
And Tyler Lockett is not Tyler.
Tyler Lockett's your boy, ain't he, Jay? No. But my bust, and I guess you can't really consider him a bust because he was a 5th rounder, is Shedeur Sanders, simply for the same exact reasons that you said for Cam Ward, and that was my biggest knock on Shedeur. Can he do it within the scheme of the offense instead of broken any? I won't say any. A lot of quarterbacks are good outside the pocket, playing that playground style of football. When it's all said and done, is Shedeur Sanders going to be able to go out there? He'll probably end up winning the job sooner or later. I'm pulling for him personally, even though I think he may be I won't say a bust, but he's not going to be a super duper star.
He's not going to be Jaden Daniels?
No. But my bust, and this is kind of a shocker, would probably be Ashton Genty.
I knew you were going to say that.
Simply because the expectations are so high, and we all loved him. We all love him, I should say, present tense. But if he doesn't come out, man, and have 1,300 yards and just kind of set the world on fire, I could see people label him as a bust, rightfully so or not.
Maybe.
What if he has 1,200 yards rushing and receiving that?
Oh, well, come on. Now you're talking, Marshall Faulk type numbers. if he does, but yeah, if he comes out and has like 600-700 yards, even though I don't think Pete Carroll will allow that because Pete loves football. But I could see him. Really. I could see Ibuka being a bust simply because he may not get the opportunity.
Because he's not going to touch the ball, exactly.
Right, and then Omarion Hampton may not be what everybody thought he would be in, for
the Chargers.
The Chargers. I was going to say Patriots or something. But yeah,
they're also doing a run by committee over there.
Exactly. So there's a few guys that they may be bust simply because they won't put up the numbers, not because they have talent. But then there's guys like Shamar Stewart that we talked about that I don't think has what it takes to be a consistent performer in the league.
Earlier in the beginning of the draft, Dylan Sampson was ranked way higher than Quinshon Judkins. I never saw it that way. I had Quinshon Judkins top 3 since February. Since February, had him top 3. He went, I think, as like the 3rd running back, or he definitely went before Sampson. But I don't think Sampson's going to get to touch the ball because Quinshon Judkins is not going to let him. I think Quinshon Judkins is going to have a great year. I think he's going to take that role and he's going to run with it, and he's not going to give Dylan Sampson a chance to play, is why I think Sampson won't be doing well this year.
I agree with that. Good points, man. Good points.
Fair enough. What do we got with Howie over here saying that Harbaugh is going to pound Omar and trade Najee?
Greg Roman ball. Greg Roman.
Pound Najee and then trade Najee, and then you have Omar all healthy.
There you go.
Yeah, under the helmet. We're doing fantasy this year, that's for sure. I don't know how many fantasy leagues I can possibly handle, but I got them going on. I plan on winning at least one of them for sure.
I was hoping that Levi was supposed to do start a dynasty draft, but I don't think he's has the energy to do it, bro. But I was hoping to.
Oh, it's a lot.
Well, just guys, go easy on me this year. Remember, I'm easing my way back into this after like a 7-year hiatus.
Who would be your number one pick this year, Kenny?
For Dynasty or just fantasy?
Fantasy, just for 1 year.
I want, I always like a Jamar Chase or an Amon-Ra St. Brown because I feel like I can get running backs later in the draft. So I would go wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, quarterback, tight end. That's what I would do.
See, if I had that first pick, it'd be hard for me to pass on Saquon Barkley, even though God forbid he gets injured this year. Knock on wood. Hopefully, it doesn't happen. But Saquon, Jameer, you know what? I know it sounds nuts.
There you go, Howie.
Gibbs is the top guy.
Sure is.
That would have been my number one pick, especially for a guy like I said that's kind of just getting back into fantasy football. Not that I haven't been paying attention to players and stuff all these years, but I just haven't been in fantasy in a while. Jameer Gibbs would be my number one guy. I think they're going to use him a lot more in the passing game. I know John Morton's offense. He does a lot of screens. He does a lot of. There's a lot of running back involvement in his offense from what I've been reading. Howie says Malik Neighbors. You know what? If Russell Wilson's smart, Howie,
I had Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors could be like a top 4, top 5 fantasy wide
just
receiver.
On
but my
PPR.
number one overall would
had over 100 catches last year, no doubt.
I don't like going running back first. I feel because I use the running back in the flex also, so I'm going to have 3 running backs. I don't need to have Saquon Barkley. What I want to do is stack Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. That's what I feel like.
I feel like wide receivers are more dime a dozen than running backs are. Like running backs, there's only maybe 8 to 10 of them out there that, are the solo carry guys. Like maybe a Jonathan Taylor.
But there are the guys that get receptions too, though, and that's the 3 that I carry. I carry 3 running backs that also get a lot of passes, and that helps me PPR.
Yeah, and PPR
running back and rushing and receiving. So.
Yeah, if I don't know, it's okay to go 2 wide receivers early, but you definitely keep yourself in at running back. But then again, it depends, and things do change. That's another thing. Throughout the season, even by week 4, you're seeing running backs emerge that you never heard of before. So you got to stay in that waiver wire, man.
So I took CMC last year with my first pick. Obviously, you know what happened there. But I picked up Bucky Irving with that when I rostered him, when I put him on IR.
There you
go.
I
had HN, I had Kyron, and I had Bucky all year. So.
Well, that worked out pretty good then. Yeah, no doubt.
Bad. Not bad.
Hey, give me here one quick note for you 49er. 2017, the Niners, they were, who'd you guys select? CJ Beathard?
2017, it was not a super great
you
draft.
traded,
We got some
you
good
traded your you got with New England, you traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. And then the pick that you subsequently got a few years later, that 7th round pick ended up being Brock Purdy.
Well, in 2017, we took Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, don't talk about it, Ahkello Witherspoon, who's now an all-star for the Rams, CJ Beathard,
all your research was for CJ Beathard. You end up drafting him, then you end up going to Jacksonville, and then the compensatory pick that you got with that, and then after the Jimmy Garoppolo trade, it was a 7th round pick, and you ended up ended up drafting Brock Purdy.
We did what we always do in 2017. We get players later. We got DJ Jones and we got George Kittle after the 5th round. That's what the Niners
Kittle's
are good
been around that long already? Damn.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man.
Hey, Howie, under the helmet, Papa, we appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah. Hour and a half today.
Great show. It did go kind of fast. An hour and a half goes by like that. You know what it's time for me to do? Take the dog out. But we got to say peace. We love y'all. We appreciate it. We love this show every Thursday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Count on us to be here, even during the off season. But, man, when the season starts, it's on.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It is on, baby. And even before that, when we get to preseason and all that good stuff, there's going to be a lot of storylines.
Starts with the Hall of Fame game, baby. What, about a month or so away? Month and a half away? Can't wait. So, thanks for everybody. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Make sure you subscribe, follow. Make sure you keep an eye out for us on social media during the week because we may pop up anywhere, but we're always here every Thursday night. We love you guys. See you next week.
Appreciate it. Peace, everybody. See you next time.